to the Inspire Your Audience podcast, where Christian speakers get real advice from other Christian speakers. Here's the host of the show, Jeremy G. Woods.
Hi, and welcome to the Inspire Your Audience podcast. I'm Jeremy Woods, host of the show, and today we have Sean Romero. Sean is the host of the Faithfully Led podcast, Transforming Leadership in the Christian Community. Sean is a United States Air Force veteran of 17 years who has led multiple successful teams and mentored countless airmen throughout his career. A certified John C. Maxwell coach and mentor, and a single father of three, Sean strives every day to build up Christians to take the lead and better their communities and families by setting the example. Thank you for coming on the show.
No, I appreciate you having me on, Jeremy. Thank you very much, man.
So let's begin. What's your Christian testimony? How did you become a Christian?
Well, it's kind of like, a lot of people, I would assume it was definitely a long journey. I grew up Catholic, in the Catholic faith as a Hispanic, and I grew up in New York City. So having that Catholic foundation and just growing up in the traditions and stuff. But it really didn't start changing until about, I want to say, after 9/11. And, I had already been in the military for about a year. And then I went away for training and stuff like that. And when I came back from training, my instructor he was a Christian. And, he really started to lead me down that path. But I was young. I just kind of wanted to do my thing. I was really just ignoring God, saying, it's okay. I'll do my little thing here and there. But it really wasn't until, when I lost my mom in 2005, when I really started seeking God more fervently and really kind of seeking more of, a meaning, not just to my life, but what I was supposed to do just, for him and how he can transform my life. And then, I got married, we started a family. And then in 2018, really things came to a head. And, because even during that time in 2008, when I got married, we were still kind of pushing God away. I was kind of trying to do things on my own, because I thought I knew better than he did. And then in 2018, everything really came to a head. I resigned my commission in the United States Air Force, and literally 6 days later, I'm signing my divorce papers, and I became a single dad without a career and had nowhere to go. But 4 days later, I was baptized in my church, and that really just jump-started my faith journey with God, because he kept pulling me, kept telling me, hey, man, I had this feeling like, hey, you need to be a bigger part of the church. You need to find a church. You really need to have that foundation and really get into the word. And when I did, I felt alive. I felt whole. But again, I kind of just let my pride and stuff like, I know what I'm doing, really kind of take over. But when everything fell apart and everything collapsed in my life, and I was there now being a single dad, and I'm like, now what? What do I do? And really having to reinvent myself, because having to be an aircraft mechanic and then flying for the Air Force for 3 years and all this other stuff, I no longer had that. And, a lot of veterans like myself, when we have to take off that uniform, it's like an exposed nerve. And so really to kind of heal that nerve, I turned to God, and God really truly did heal that, because I went through a lot of very severe depression and severe anxiety. And I really just divulged myself into the word and really got into the word. And that's when it really saved me. So February 17th, 2018 is when, I was saved. And I was saved because, not just because of everything that was happening. I finally just said, all right, Lord, take the wheel, and I'm here, and I'm going to follow you. And, he really put it in my heart to go and start Faithfully Led and become, this, my own ministry.
And so through Faithfully Led, you've been speaking for about 2 years, or is it more?
Yeah, for about 2 years. So I do off and on do stuff here and there. I haven't done anything like major public events or anything like that. But, I'll speak at small groups and things like that. Groups in my church, other groups that are around that I've been connecting with, some faith ministries in the area, because I live here in South Jersey. So, in the local area here in South Jersey. I'm looking to expand and really start to not only tell my story, but really expand the message of leadership and changing that leadership and strengthening the leadership really in the Christian community. Because look what's going on today with the whole coronavirus stuff, and, how we are kind of changing how we interact with each other, and I really want to be able to be a part of that foothold in the Christian community, especially with men, to really start lifting them up, to make them understand that, hey, we really need this leadership. And we can't be continuously succumbing to what society is constantly telling us, that, masculinity is bad, this is bad, and true evil things are good and stuff like that. I don't want any of that stuff. So I want to be on the forefront of that fight and just really kind of, transform this community.
What's your routine before a speaking engagement? Do you have anything at a routine?
Well, I've never really been too afraid to speak in front of people. And that's probably one of the reasons why I kind of got in trouble in the military, because I just never really held my tongue so much and kind of tell it like it is. So, but when I go, right before I do any kind of speaking, I say a little prayer. I say a prayer, say just asking God just to guide me and just to really use me for His will, and that the words that are coming through my heart are the words that He wants me to say. He wants me to convey to other people, so that way they can understand, their place in Christianity, but also how they can connect with God and on their own personal level, because a relationship with God is very personal and to each one is different. So whenever I do any kind of speaking engagements or I'm leading any kind of groups or whatever, I pray that my words come across in that manner, that I'm not trying to tell them what to do. I'm trying to show them how to communicate with God and be not only a better communicator with God, but also to be able to strengthen their leadership and be able to strengthen their bonds with other people on how to communicate about God.
And what's your favorite Bible verse and why?
My favorite Bible verse is Mark 11:22-24. And the reason why is because, it talks about, being able to, say, hey, you have the power to move this mountain. You go ahead and you tell this mountain, be cast into the sea, and it's going to go and it'll move. And in life, a lot of times is, we see, situations, we get into difficult spots where these situations are mountains and we don't know how to move them, and we don't know how to get through them. We don't know how to get around them. We don't know how to, to really successfully navigate through them. And understanding that if you're rooted in faith and you're intentional about that faith, and you're intentional about, and it's not like rubbing a magic lamp and telling the genie, hey, I wish this mountain to be moved, or, you're literally physically on the base of Mount Everest saying, mountain, move, nothing like that. No, but to be able to use that faith to say, I'm not going to let this overcome me. I know that through the power of Jesus Christ and through the faith and through, the grace that He's given me, that I can move this mountain. I can move this mountain out of my way. I can move this mountain so that way I can continue my journey. But also in the verse, it says that, if you have anything against anyone, to place your gifts first and then go resolve that situation first and then come back. And that's about humility. And being a leader, you have to be humble. I was humbled so many times in my career, and I learned that very early on in my career, that the true leaders are often the most humble people, because it's not that they're most approachable. It's that they understand that they're just as flawed as you are. They're not trying to be better than you, but what they're trying to do is they're trying to amplify the greater good in you, and whatever you may be lacking, they're amplifying that also, so that way you can work on that and become a stronger person. That humility there, to be humble about that first, and to be humble about what you can do and what you can overcome, that says a lot about a person, because it goes to a person's character. And John Maxwell, he says a great quote. He says, charisma gets you into the door, but it's character that keeps you in the room. And it's the truth. I mean, you could be very slick talking. You can be, very charismatic. Look at some of our political leaders, very, very charismatic, very, approachable people. You feel like you've known them. They're inspiring. They're great, but they lack a lot of character. And, then you start picking them apart, and you start picking them what their true flaws are and what their true meaning or what their true motives are. And as a leader, and even as a Christian, you don't want people to judge you on your ulterior motives. You want people to look at your heart, because you can be the most altruistic person in the world, and you can be a billionaire. You can give billions of dollars to charities and whatever. But if your character isn't there, that's what's going to be judged at the end of the day. Your humility and your character, that's what's going to be judged when we meet our Maker. And so that verse there encompasses everything, not only what I believe in, but what also I believe true leadership is about, but also that is how we should live our lives every day. We should, no matter what's going on, believe that, hey, God is still on the throne. We're still, living in his grace, and we're still blessed with his grace. And through faith, we can overcome anything. And with that, we also have to be humble, because we have to understand that even though whatever we're going through right now in the moment, it may not be as bad as somebody else. And we still have to be that humble person to be able to reach out and help that other person, no matter what we're going through, no matter what problem we have, no matter how much we hurt, no matter how much, we want to, we're angry at somebody else. There's someone else that is going to need our help, and we have to be that blessing.
And what's your favorite Christian quote outside of the Bible?
Man, I have a few, but and in retrospect, I kind of think about it, more and more. I have to say, I honestly have to say right now, especially with everything going on, would have to be that, God's still on the throne. And God's still on the throne. I mean, because again, looking at what we do today, what we're going through today with this coronavirus, and people are going to be, people are on lockdown, people aren't, are losing loved ones. I mean, I personally know several people that have been affected by this. And, but at the end of the day, and just this morning, I had a friend of mine lose a loved one. And, it's heartbreaking, because I know that they're not going to be able to do, be able to mourn in a traditional fashion. So everything's changing. And so at the end of the day, you really have to remember that God's still on the throne, no matter what, that we're going to get through this, and God's still on the throne. He's going to get us through this. And if we maintain that focus, we will get through this, because, we're going to be thrown things at us. Things are going to be thrown at us to take our focus off of that. And, kind of like what happened to Job, and, he had people and his wife telling him, forget about God, forget about him, man. He's not saving you. Look what you're going through now, man. Look what you're going through. And he's like, no, man, no. I mean, even though in moments we become weak, and we're like, God, why are you doing this to me? Why me? Why me? And it's okay. Even Jesus did that, and, when he was on the cross and saying, why have you forsaken me? But at the same time, it's okay to feel that in a moment. But also, we have to just remember, we have to stay focused on the task at hand and know that he is always going to be on the throne, and he's still on the throne. And that's really what gets me through every day.
Which person from the Bible, other than Jesus, do you most like and relate to?
Yeah, Job. Absolutely. I mean, I love the story of Job, because Job, if you think about it, man, he had it all. He was a humble guy. He was, he was a wealthy man. And then, all of a sudden, boom, gone, everything gone, and to be able to, and I definitely relate to that, because, I was very blessed. I had a blessed career. I mean, I was, on top of the world. I loved what I did, in the military, and, to be able to sit there and work on, $40 million fighter jets, that's something that not everybody can do, and that I'm able to operate them and effectively, protect other people. And it was great, and be able to lead other people and teach other people, how to do that and affect their careers in a positive way, and to be able to see your family be proud of you in that way, that it was a big thing. And to lose all that like that, it was huge, to lose the family, to lose, the career. So I relate to that. I can relate to it. And there's a lot of other people that can relate to that also. And you sit there and you say, why me? Why is this happening to me? You don't understand in the moment, but in the big picture of things, you understand that you're going through this to become a greater person, to get stronger, to build something, but not for you, but for him. So that way you can be that catalyst for other people who are going through this, or who are going to go through worse than what you are, I mean, I was blessed that I still had some people to come in and help me to where I didn't become homeless, where I still was able to provide a roof over my head for my kids. And so where other people aren't that lucky, other people aren't in that position where, they lose literally everything, and they're living out of their car or whatever, or in shelters, and that's something else. So Job, to me, he inspires me to say, okay, man, if he went through this, and I'm not going to do it just for the blessings, I'm going to do it because this is what God's will is, and he's trying to teach me to become a better person, then all right, then that's what I'm going to focus on. And the blessings will come, as long as I'm being faithful to him, as long as I know that, because he already knows what I want. He knows what I need. He knows what I have to do. It's just me doing my part. I have to still do my part. And Job still did his part. Job was faithful, and Job was there. He was steadfast. And sure enough, man, he was blessed, several times over. And it was a reward, not because he was this kind, gentle person, but because he did his part. He did what he was supposed to do. And so that's who I most admire.
And what are your aspirations as far as speaking or otherwise?
I honestly want to be global. I want to be able to take my message global. I want to be able to inspire other people globally and to be able to take the message of not only just Christianity, but leadership in Christianity and understanding that other Christians around the world are in the same boat, but worse, but aren't understanding how to use or to become leaders in their own community because of society's own, their way of thinking, how we have to, society just wants us to basically become like them. And that's what we don't have to do. And we don't have to do it because we want to be rebellious or anything like that. We don't have to do it because God is telling us how to be and how to live. And we don't have to answer to man, because at the end of the day, what we have to answer is to God. We're answering to the Lord. We're answering to Christ. This is who we answer to. We have to live by the laws of the land, and we have to follow the rules that are set by others. Render unto Caesar which is Caesar's, but we also have to also set that example and set that foundation so that way God's word will forever be everlasting. And so that way we can always be able to go back and to be able to push forward, the love of Christianity and the love of God, and to show the world that, yeah, God is love. God is wonderful. God is, and no matter what goes on. And so leaders in our community sometimes become very timid. They become scared to take risks. They get scared to really reach out on their own individual platforms because they, have their own interpretations of things. But not only that, they have their own personal aspirations, and none of that's bad. I'm not saying that's bad, but what I'm saying is when you put that in front, it's kind of like putting the cart in front of the horse. You're not going to get anywhere. You have to have that. You have to have that horse in front. That horse is God. You have to have, he's going to lead us. He's going to pull us through. And no matter what we have, we're putting in that cart. That's going to be ours. It's going to be there. It's there no matter what. But we can't be putting that cart in front of everything. So that way we can kind of promote that rather than promoting the message. We got to remember that Jesus came into Jerusalem riding on a donkey, not, a white stallion or, a Clydesdale or anything like that. He came in on a very humble, animal that is not only the workhorse of just pretty much, the world really, but he came in there as in a symbol and as a very symbolic statement, to fulfill a prophecy, because that's what it is. And being the leader and transforming that, is what I want to do, is what I want to do globally. I want to be able to take this message throughout the world, and being able to do this, virtually or, on stage. That's whatever positions open up, whatever, God opens up for me. And that's what I'm going to take. This is what it's all about.
Looking back, what's the biggest impact you've seen God have in your life?
The biggest impact that I've seen in my life personally, I have two examples. One, personally, I've seen him literally take me to a place where I literally was down to the last basically minutes to where I was going to be homeless. And he has, without a doubt, opened up the doors and changed people's hearts, where I was able to get the finances and able to get what I needed to keep my home. And that opened my eyes even more so to the greatness of God, to where he'll take you to that point. He'll take you to that edge so that way you can understand. But he is so merciful that he's like, man, I don't want to push you over that edge. This is not for you. I just want you to understand that you can get to this edge, but I'm not going to push you over that edge because I'm here. And you're not going to get to that point because I'm here and I'm going to take care of you. So I've seen. And also, I've seen things when in 9/11, after 9/11, and I'm from New York City. So right after the event happened, I was in the city. I was there 3 days after the event happened, and I saw so many people come together. And I saw so many people come together for just not only a single cause, because everyone was united because we were hurting, but I saw people give back that they didn't have, things that they didn't have, and they were willing to give more just because they didn't want to see other people hurting. And to be able to be a part of that, to be able to see that, firsthand, see other people, be united in the cause, even though that was such a horrible event, you saw people pick each other up, and of all different types of races and all different types of cultures and all different types of religion, all come together to build up the people who were hurting. And at the time, as a nation, we were hurting, but even so much, you felt it in the city. And being from that city, born and raised, that's my home. I felt it deeply. But to be able to see that firsthand and see the devastation firsthand and see the faces of the people that were missing firsthand, and then see the people go out and say, hey, man, I'm there for you. I'm there for you. To bring just water bottles to the first responders and just taking care of people and just people just trying to unite and just and doing their part, just be able to holding signs saying, we believe in you. We love you. That's God. That's God working through people saying that, no matter what, we're going to get through this. We're going to get through this. We're going to be better at the end. God, it says in scripture, the rain falls on the just and unjust, and he isn't promising perfect days. He's going to promise that he says there's going to be events that are going to hurt us, but he is still there. And to be able to see that firsthand, that was just life changing. It really was. And when I said that earlier, it really truly, that was part of the reason why that really shifted my thoughts and saying, wow, here's something so ugly, so horrible. And here's God, and God's right there in the middle of it. So, it was a beautiful thing. That's really, those are the events that really, changed my life forever.
What's been your biggest challenge as a speaker, and how have you overcome that challenge?
Some of the biggest challenges is honestly not to convince other people that I know what I'm talking about, but to convince myself to know that, hey, God put me in this position because I know what I'm talking about, and, we hear often that, God gives you everything that you need to go ahead and to succeed. We sometimes have to go and get training to build on that, and he'll open those doors for that. But God gives you everything that you need to succeed. And, people tend to forget that. And I'm just like everyone else. I would tend to forget that, God gave me this, this ability to speak to, be able to, the ability to inspire, the ability to mentor other people. And it's not because of anything that I did. It's because of the events that he placed me in, the positions that he's placed me in, the people that he has put me around, the books that I've read, and the events that I've done, all those things. And he's given me all those things. And it wasn't anything that I specifically did. I did my part. I went through it. I signed up and I did the work and I learned. But it was him opening those doors saying, hey, this is what's going to help you, build on that. And again, in society, we tend to look at other people, look at celebrities. They're famous and they're on TV or whatever and movies. And all of a sudden we give them all of this, credence, we give them all this credibility and we're saying, hey, just because they are able to perform on camera, they must be credible. Let's listen to what they have to say. And oftentimes they don't. Oftentimes they don't know what they're saying. Oftentimes what they're saying isn't what it's correct. They're oftentimes just spitting their own opinion, which is fine. But, a lot of the times it's not based on anything. It's just based on an emotional reaction to something. And that's not God. That's, you're not, why do they get that credibility? And we put ourselves in that box and saying, well, they're celebrities. They automatically have that credibility. But we tend to forget as believers that we've already been given that credibility because God gave us that credibility and God gave us what we have. And God is using us for him, for his will. And that's all we need. We don't need to be celebrities. We don't need to be, we don't have to be anything else. Our story is our story and everything is individual. And whether we impact one people or a billion people, it's what God wants us to use us for. And in that moment.
What's your favorite Christian book besides the Bible?
I read a lot of, obviously, John Maxwell, but my favorite Christian book that I have to, and I read a lot of, just nonfiction and stuff. My favorite Christian book right now, I'd have to say is The Blessed Life by Pastor Robert Morris. And he gives a lot of examples on how to live a blessed life, but not only financially, but because it's really just basic everyday faith movement life and how to really live a life that God has intended for you. God isn't, and I'm reading a great book right now also that's probably going to rival it. It's called You Are Next by Pastor Samuel Rodriguez. And I'm halfway through it and it's phenomenal. But both books encouraging, again, The Blessed Life by Robert Morris and Pastor Robert Morris, he goes into talking about things that Christians oftentimes think about and don't understand, like tithing. Why should we tithe, and why it's important to tithe, and biblically why it's there, it's written in Scripture. But he also goes about, really how to become deeply rooted in your own faith and understanding the connection of your faith and the relationship you have with Christ. So, that right there, if anyone doesn't have it, I highly, highly recommend to go out and go do that. And also, like I said, You Are Next by Pastor Samuel Rodriguez. It really goes into depth about faith and how you can really, exercise that faith and understand where you are, because we sometimes feel like, hey, we're just like this little insignificant part of anything, but we really aren't, and to be able to be believers and to be blessed, we have this incredible power that not many people understand. So those are the two books that I have to say really changed me and are changing me, that are incredible.
What's your most impactful childhood memory?
Man, these are good questions. My most impactful childhood memory, quite a few. Man, you growing up Catholic, you go through all these traditions and things like that. But I was part of, and I don't know why I always go back to this, but it always makes me feel blessed and it always makes me feel happy. But we had for Christmas, we had a Christmas congregation, and we have like the play and stuff like that. And it was the first time really for me to be able to be a part of the church. Especially as a kid, and be able to take part of it. And I never really understood what, you're a kid, Christmas is like, hey, you're getting toys, you're getting presents. All right. But you know the story, but you never really understood it. And this was probably the first time that I really truly understood what it meant to be a Christian, what it meant to be Catholic. We're basically a follower of Christ, and to really truly understand the gift of Christmas and the story of Christmas and the gift of, why it's so important that we have to celebrate, Christ, during that time, and why, and the true meaning of what Christmas really was. So that's really what really truly stood out. I would say about maybe 11. And so being able to, I went to, and it was like my first year in Catholic school. So before that, I was in public, secular school. So again, I really it wasn't no big deal. But, and then when I did this, that this was really like infused in me. So, I would have to say that's probably my biggest memory, as a kid, that was the most impactful, being in that moment and seeing and understanding it for the first time, what it really was about, not just, unwrapping the brand new Super Nintendo or something, so, that really was what it was about. So,
do you listen to any Christian podcasts? And if so, what do you find helpful or inspirational from them?
Yeah, I do. I actually listened to a couple. The one I really enjoy the most is called Dad Hackers. And I actually interviewed the host of that show on my podcast. And he talks about, being a Christian father and really being able to be that leader in the household. And that was just, it's an amazing show. So if you guys haven't, you really should check it out. It's called Dad Hackers, especially if you're a single dad. It's such an awesome show. Great tidbits. Everything is, rooted in Christ. Everything's Christ-centered. That is something that is very inspiring. And, that's the one I really, really enjoy because, again, as a single dad, I look for groups to be able to be a part of that and to be able to help me, lift me up and to let me know that, hey, I'm still doing the right thing. It's okay. And I've got 2 daughters. So, things can get a little hairy there. So, but, that's the one of the biggest shows that I listen to. That's probably the most informative show that I listen to that I love. So I highly recommend everybody go check it out. Again, it's called Dad Hackers. To check it out. And then, like I said, I interviewed the host of that show on my show. So go ahead and check that out too. It's pretty awesome segment.
And what advice do you have for Christian speakers?
Just to remember that your story is your voice, and your voice has to be rooted in what God wants you what he wants to say through you. Our story is not what happens to us. It happens for us, and it happens for our community, because this is how God speaks to us out in the open. This is how people can listen to his word and hear his word through our story. So I highly, my advice to other Christian speakers is that don't feel like you can't make a difference. Don't feel that your story is insignificant, because it's not. It's very significant. Everyone's story, it's absolutely vital to be able to put the word out there and get the word out there. This is something that's wonderful to be able to do. And the minute and a chance that you're able to share that, go ahead and do that. You don't have to be in a so-called quote unquote big ministry of a church or anything like that. Your ministry is your voice. Your ministry is your story. And, it's incumbent on you to share that story, because there's going to be someone who needs to hear that story. And so whether you're talking in front of millions of people or just one person, your story is what's going to change a lot of people's lives. So don't be afraid to share it. Don't be afraid to think that you don't have what it takes or nobody wants to hear it. Someone needs to hear it, and someone needs to hear it in that moment. So please don't be afraid. Share your story. And that's what being a speaker is all about. And that's how you inspire other people through what you've been through. You may be a great orator, and you may have learned a lot of different tidbits from a lot of other mentors like John Maxwell, Les Brown, Miles Monroe, Tony Robbins, and great speakers like that, Zig Ziglar. But their experience is not your experience, but what you've learned from them is your experience. And that's how you're able to communicate. And that's how you're able to, reach other people. But it's got to be from you. You can't go and just regurgitate or repeat what they've done. That's them. That's their story. Explain to people and share with people why their story resonated with you because of what you've gone through and what you've been through personally, and how that relates to your relationship with Christ and how you are able to do his will and get it out there.
Thank you so much. And how can people find your Faithfully Led podcast?
Yeah, you can go on iTunes and you can check it out there on iTunes on Faithfully Led, just 2 words, Faithfully and LED Led. And also you can find me on Facebook, faithfullyled.com. Facebook.com/faithfullyled.Sean, SEAN. Follow the page there. And I'm also on Instagram, but, check me out. I'm on 10 different platforms. So it's not only on iTunes, we're on Spotify, Stitcher Radio, Anchor. So those are just to name a few, the big ones right there. So you can go ahead and look me up there, Faithfully Led, and you'll be able to go and, check it all out. And please become a part of the tribe, become a tribe member. And so that way you can share the message and share not only my ministry, but be able to share the message that, God is sharing through me to other people, because I guarantee you somebody needs to hear it.
Thanks so much, Sean.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. I really appreciate you, Jeremy. Thank you very much.
Thank you for tuning in to the Inspire Your Audience podcast. If you're a first-time listener, be sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening to this from. Or if you're tuning in on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to this channel. Also, please share this podcast episode with Christian speakers that you know. If you're a Christian speaker and want to be interviewed as a guest on this show, you can fill out our scheduler at inspireyouraudience.com/podcast. If you're a Christian speaker and would like the platform audit, visit inspireyouraudience.com/start-here. We offer 4 packages for Christian speakers to help them build their platform. The book Inspire Your Audience, The Ultimate Guide to Building Your Speaking Platform will be coming soon. We also have started a small but growing community for Christian speakers. To learn more, please visit inspireyouraudience.com/community. Also, if you're still listening and can help with the project my wife and I have started, please do so. We're raising money for 3 children's homes to be built by 2023, and that will house a total of 18 abandoned children. Our nonprofit, Potter Sauce Ministries, is based in Romania, in my wife's hometown. To learn more about how you and your church can help, please visit www.pottershouseministries.org. Thank you for your support, and may you have a blessed day.